Hello. Okay, so my partner is Brett, and I am going to be going over chapters 9 through 11 of this guy. Okay, so to kick it right off, we are talking about lesson plans and effective instruction during chapter 9. And the first thing that really caught my eye was when the author said, begin the process by determining the desired end results of instruction when you're making a lesson plan. And this immediately reminded me of the ABCD objective strategy that we learned in Kim's class. So it's being corroborated here in the book just under different terms, but I have found that that's super helpful, and I also do think writing the objective of the day onto the board is super important. And maybe even going over it, like, who's gonna read me the objective today? Who's gonna tell me what it means? Let's get started. Or I'll tell you what it means. Let's get started, you know? On the next page even, the author wrote something that I circled and then rewrote in different colored ink so I would not forget it. Teach the curriculum with sensitivity to your students' needs. I think a lot of times just being around teachers a lot, it seems like the curriculum is sort of the enemy, but also really necessary. So this little paragraph here was all about how to teach the curriculum in a way that, even though it's like a general format and a general mishmash of things that your students need to learn, you can take it and then make it personal to your students, and that's where the sensitivity to their needs comes in. And then these 2 pages were chock full. Below that, the author wrote, essentially, this is my paraphrasing, if you struggle as a teacher, your students will struggle to learn. So being confident, and then also being organized, which they talk about a few pages later, and I dog-eared these pages for formatting a unit plan and formatting a daily plan, because obviously we have our College of St. Mary template for lesson plans, but it's really extensive, and those aren't the type of lesson plans, from what I understand, that we're going to be having to turn in at the end of every week. But doing a unit plan is something that I don't really think we've covered too much, except for in one class that I'm blanking on right now. But it's something that we're gonna have to do. So, basically chapter 9 made me really anxious because of all the things that it's like, you need to do this and this and this and this, and I'm like, I start teaching in a month and I'm really nervous now. But it's just because I'm unorganized, and I know that this chapter specifically, chapter 9, has given me a lot of tools to get organized, and once I get there, I'll be less anxious. Okay. The next, in chapter 10, excuse me, which was about summative assessment, the first thing that I marked was this bullet point that says, don't allow a few minutes to study before a test or quiz. Ill-prepared students may take advantage of this opportunity to write or cheat notes, or write cheat notes. And that's something that a lot of teachers do, is they give you time, take 5 minutes at the beginning of class and review your notes, whatever. And I guess I'm not going to do that, because then it gives students the opportunity to cheat. So that's why we have review days, the day before the test. And then another bullet point was the list of things to avoid in assessments. Basically, to use less confusing language, it's remember that you need to put points next to all of your questions. So every multiple choice is worth 2 points, and every short answer is worth 15 points, and your essay question's worth 50 points, or something like that. So students know the point value, so they don't get stuck on oh my god, number 6 and 12 in the multiple choice section, I just can't figure out, but I haven't even written my essay yet, but I've got to do it in chronological order, when really missing 4 points versus maybe 50 points because they didn't get to the essay. It's a whole different ballgame there. So like what we were talking about with the multicultural chapter from the other book, be direct, even in your tests and on your paper, any written instructions. Okay. In chapter 11, there was a lot of talk about policies, and especially there were a lot of charts that I dog-eared about Specific classroom policies that you need to figure out. So like book bags in class, where are we keeping them? Later missing homework, appropriate homework help, appropriate language, grading, forgotten materials, food in the classroom, all of this stuff. It's really important to have very clear, succinct, this is the action, this is the consequence, cause and effect. It's going to be the same for everybody just because it has to be, because making exceptions in special cases, unless you've talked about the student with it previously, is going to be something that's really important. Like the thing that comes to mind right now is at Westside Middle School, students are not allowed to have a cell phone even on them. It has to be in their locker at all times. And if a student knows that if a phone is out, a teacher can take it and all they have to say is, your phone's out, give it to me, and that's it. But let's say that there's a student who has like a real emergency going on, and needs to have their phone on them. I suppose my policy then would be, okay, I need you to put your phone away today, but if your mom can email me or give me a call and verify this emergency, then I can allow you to have it out for the next day, maybe the next 2 to 3 days, or at least accessible to you in case of an emergency. But that would be a different situation. And then planning classroom procedures, I dog-eared that part as well. That would just be for teachers to know for their own reference. And then enforcing school rules as opposed to just classroom rules. It's kind of like standards with curriculum. You can't just decide what you're going to teach and then teach it, even if it doesn't meet the curriculum and state standards. In the same way, you can't just decide what's important in your classroom and then not uphold the rest of the policies and rules that the school has. I know Carly talked a lot about how in Millard they have very explicit, at the middle school level, rules like first warning, second warning, and like a specific script. Westside is not like that, but it is still important to follow those stringent school rules and make sure that you are unified with the school and upholding the standards and expectations of the administrators, as well as enforcing your own standards and expectations. And that's what I got. Thank you.